Greetings and welcome to another Pokemon 2019 or Pokemon Journeys anime episode review. This time I'm talking about episode 28, so let's get to it. Episode 28 begins with Ash, Goh, and their Pokemon who sit down to eat breakfast. It's their second day in the Galar Region after episode 27. They sit down to eat curry, most of which will look familiar to anyone who has played Pokemon Sword and Shield. Sobble shows up and it approaches Ash and the gang. Sobble is watching them as they eat, but it gets scared when Ryolu eats a whole plate by itself. Sobble becomes invisible as a result and it proceeds to eat all of the curry while invisible. This confuses everyone since their curry is disappearing. Both of the Farfetch'd end up confronting each other because they think that the other ate the curry. Go notices the floating food and he takes a closer look at it. Sobble's invisibility wears off and it ends up face to face with Go. Both scream as a result. Sobble runs away and it ends up against a wall surrounded by everyone. Sobble cries and its tears make Ash Go and the Pokemon cry, which is funny, especially Robot who turns around to cry like it's so proud and serious that it can't be seen crying. Sobble disappears, so Ash and Go decide to chase after it. The episode then cuts to the opening. After the opening, Ash and Go are seen searching for Sobble around a nearby fountain. Ash asks Go if he is going to catch it. The way Ash says this feels like he has no intention to catch it, no interest in catching it. Like, seriously, Ash, where's your ambition? Where's your motivation? Go says that he will catch it because its ability to hide itself reminds him of Mew. Nurse Joy approaches them and she wonders if they are searching for something. Ash and Go say that they are searching for a Pokemon that they have never seen before and they describe it for Nurse Joy, who immediately realizes that the Pokemon they are looking for is Sobble. Ash and Goh could have used their Pokedex when they had Sobble cornered. They would have known what it was from the beginning. Goh used his Pokedex right away on Nurse Joyce Indeedee, so the whole describing Sobble scene was unnecessary. Maybe Sobble's appearance was so sudden that Ash and Goh had no time to think of using their Pokedex, or maybe the forced crying prevented them from using it, but it definitely felt like a mistake on their part. Nurse Joy mentions that Sobble are shy Pokemon, so it's rare to see one in town, and she says that they become invisible when they touch water, so it might be hiding in the fountain. And indeed, Sobel is in the fountain. Go turns to the fountain and he begins to talk so that Sobble can hear him if it is in the fountain. Go introduces himself and he says that he really likes Sobble's ability. He asks Sobble if it wants to come with him. Go goes on to say that they are not mad that Sobble ate their breakfast, that if Sobble joins him, then it can eat with them. Now Sobble is in the fountain, it's listening to Go, but it doesn't reveal itself. Go gives up, realizing that perhaps Sobble is not there. Ash mentions that maybe it ran farther away. In frustration, Go says, and here I wanted to catch it, and he throws a Pokeball at the fountain, which just happens to hit the invisible Sobble. As the Pokeball shakes, Go says, "Oh no, I threw a valuable Pokeball without thinking." Go's Pokedex then says Sobble's data will be added to the database, which shocks everyone, and so Sobble ends up caught by Go just like that. Like, seriously, Go catches Sobble on accident. He wanted to catch it, yeah, but he caught it through sheer luck. It was totally random. This angered me because not only is it the outcome I did not want to see, but Go catches Sobble without any build-up, without any emotional punch. He catches Sobble like he does any of his Pokemon. He simply throws the Pokeball at them and that's it. I was honestly about to leave the episode at that. I was just going to quit. But I stuck with it because, well, I have to make a video review of the episode, right? So, here we are. The episode then cuts to Team Rocket. They are in their balloon. They were chasing after Pikachu and somehow they ended up flying all the way to the Galar region. They say that Pikachu wouldn't be here, but Wobbuffet spots Pikachu with its binoculars. Team Rocket approach Ash and the gang who are distracted, but an intense wind takes Team Rocket away before they can do anything. Ryolu was randomly digging around and it encounters a wild Silicobra. Go uses his Pokedex on it, again showing that not using it with Sobble was unusual. Go decides to catch Silicobra, but the Silicobra hits the Pokeball with its tail, and it sends it back to Go, which seems to be a common trend recently, though unfortunately, it did not hit Go in the face this time. Also, can I just say that Silicobra's size surprised me? Like, I totally thought that Silicobra were small going by Pokemon Sword and Shield. When you see Silicobra in battle, it looks really small. However, I checked the height and Silicobra are over 7 feet tall, which honestly surprised me. I decided to have one follow me in Sword and Shield just to see, but I was disappointed by how small it looks when it follows you. So Go decides to battle the Silly Cobra. He sends out Sobble since it would be a good match against a ground type Pokemon. Ash says that he wants to see Sobble battle, and I'm just thinking like, why did you not catch it then? You could have seen it battle under your command. Sobble is confused at first, and then it gets scared by Silly Cobra. Sobble starts to sweat profusely, which makes Sobble invisible. This confuses Silly Cobra, and Go tells Sobble to use Water Gun. I totally thought that Sobble would be too scared and timid to actually attack, but surprisingly, Sobble does use Water Gun, and it does so while remaining invisible. Silly Cobra's like, nope, and it burrows underground. When Silly Cobra surfaces again, Sobble hits it with a barrage of pound attacks, while remaining invisible. Silly Cobra is basically playing with invisible enemy mode activated. Sobble is broken with its invisible attacks, and I can only imagine how amazing this would be under Ash's ownership. Silly Cobra is angered by Sobble's attacks and it spits sand all around it, which reveals Sobble's position. Truly a 200 IQ play. Go tells Sobble to vanish again, but Sobble just sits there confused. Silly Cobra tackles Sobble and Sobble cries after it was hurt, which makes everyone cry, including Silly Cobra, who burrows underground and then runs away. Sobble then runs away as well. Go is unable to withdraw Sobble before it runs off. Ash and Goh chase after it, but they don't know where Sobble went, and since Sobble can become invisible, it won't be an easy search. They realize that a lot of people are crying due to Sobble, so they follow the crying until they decide to split up. Ash, Pikachu, and Ryolu only find an Oddish, but Goh does find Sobble. Go apologizes to Sobble, but Sobble starts crying again and it jumps into the water. Go realizes that they must do something about the crying and he remembers Mr. Mime cutting onions, which gives him the idea he needs. Also, I love Raboot's crying once again. Raboot is like, I must not cry, I have to hold it in. Ash meets up with Go and they head downriver to continue their search for Sobble. The episode then cuts to Team Rocket, who are next to the river. The wind from before wrecked their balloon. They wonder how they will find Pikachu now, and then they realize that Morpeko is right there eating their food. They try to consult their Pokedex, but it simply says it's Morpeko and that it does not feel like explaining today. What a lazy Rotom. Jesse throws a can at Morpeko in anger, but Morpeko easily dodges it and the can ends up hitting Sobble, who was sitting behind Morpeko while invisible. Sobble was just sitting there despite having all that commotion behind it. And it's funny that for a Pokemon that is invisible, Sobble sure gets hit by random things a lot. Morpeko then runs away. There goes my savior, the Pokemon that Go should have caught so that Sobble could be caught by Ash. Jesse picks Sobble up and they wonder what to do with it until they hear Ash and Goh who are calling for Sobble. Team Rocket decide to take Sobble as a hostage that they can use to get Pikachu. Ash and Go keep searching for Sobble but they have no luck. Go then says that it's his fault that Sobble ran away. It's because he forced Sobble to battle without asking how it felt first. He says that of course Sobble would run from a trainer like him. Ash tells Go that he should just try harder next time. He just caught Sobble, so he can't expect everything to work out right away. Indeed, Go just caught Sobble, and yet he is already giving up. It took him less than half an episode to start losing heart. Ash encourages Go as he always does. This proves one of the things that I said in my Who Will Catch Sobble video. Go is just not up to the task of raising Sobble, and Ash is the one that can properly train Sobble. Go then says that Ash is right and he calls for Sobble once again. Team Rocket answers his call with their usual routine. Team Rocket have Sobble in a cage and they offer to trade it for Pikachu. They start laughing but Sobble starts crying, which overrides their laughter with tears. They say they just want Pikachu while crying. Ash and Goh say that they won't get Pikachu or Sobble. Team Rocket starts saying that Ash and Goh are awful and cruel while still crying, which makes it seem like they are genuinely being bullied by Ash and Goh. Jesse tells Sobble to shut up and then Team Rocket calls for their gacha machine. Pelipper arrives with it in record time. This must be Pelipper Prime or something since it offers instant delivery all the way to the Galar region. From their gacha machine, Team Rocket get an Armaldo and a Magnezone. A battle then begins. Ash and Goh have Pikachu, Ryolu, and Raboot attack. James tells Armaldo to counter with Metal Claw, which misses, but Jesse tells Magnezone to use Supersonic, which hits Ash, Goh, and their Pokemon. This keeps them restrained. Team Rocket wonder why they are working so hard to recover such a weak crybaby of a Pokemon. Go then says that Sobble might be a crybaby, but it is not weak, and he promises to save it. Sobble then has a flashback of everything it went through, and apparently Go was the only one to extend a hand to it. Sobble is determined to help, so it breaks open the cage with its tiny little arms. Like, can it seriously open a cage with those skinny little arms? James then says that they shouldn't have used a cheap cage, so I guess that this excuses it. The effort of opening the cage made Sobble sweat, which allows it to become invisible. It rushes towards Go, but it is stopped by Armaldo. Sobble then cries as expected, which makes Team Rocket cry, but they are relieved by the fact that their Pokemon are not crying. But they looked at the wrong eyes. It turns out that they are crying, with Jessie exclaiming, "Those are its eyes," referring to Armaldo, whose eyes are actually the ones that look like ears instead of the patterns on its face. In the past, I also believed that Armaldo's eyes were on its actual face. Team Rocket say that at least the brats will have it just as bad with the crying, but it turns out that they are prepared. They are all wearing goggles. This is what Mr. Mime was wearing in that flashback Go had earlier. Though I wonder how they got 5 goggles so fast, and ones that are Pokemon sized too. I guess Pelipper Prime is at it again. Ash and Go take advantage of the crime to attack Team Rocket, which sends them blasting off again. Go approaches Sobble and he apologizes for making it battle, and he says that he will ask it beforehand next time. Assuming there is a next time, of course, since Go doesn't really battle that often. Go also says that Sobble is timid because it is always alert. This allows it to protect itself and its friends. He says that Sobble is not weak, that Sobble is strong. Sobble almost cries out of happiness and Go tells it to stop. I guess that they decided to do the episode backwards with the emotional payoff at the end because it's here that the capture would be most fitting. I also guess that this is supposed to be touching and Go is improving his bond with Sobble, but it just sounds hollow coming from Go, especially considering that minutes before he was giving up as Sobble's trainer. The episode then cuts to Team Rocket. The Morpeko from before approaches them once again, and it demands more food while making an adorable face. I was totally expecting that Team Rocket was going to catch it, but instead they say that they are out of food because Morpeko ate it all and they tell it to scram. Morpeko is angered by this and it shifts to hangry mode. It uses its signature move Aura Wheel to attack Team Rocket, which sends Team Rocket blasting off yet again. So, in the end, no one catches Morpeko. And that's the episode. Now, I am not going to lie and I am not going to sugarcoat it. I hate this episode because I did not want to see Go catching Sobble. I knew that this was a possibility because I made a video talking about who would catch Sobble, so it wasn't a surprise, but it is the outcome I did not want to see. I never lost hope that Ash could be the one to catch Sobble, but in the end, my hopes were crushed. I still think that Ash is the one that deserves Sobble. Ash is the one that can properly train and encourage Sobble. With Ash, Sobble can battle and it can evolve as well. Sobble would also get a lot of screen time. With Go, it is likely that none of this will happen or it will happen infrequently. Also, Ash was the only main character that could catch more than one starter Pokemon of the current generation or series. Now Go has 2 starter Pokemon, which breaks this old rule, and it just feels wrong. Go catching Sobble feels like a mistake. It feels like a sudden change that the writers decided to do at the last minute. I don't agree with it at all, and I probably never will. Maybe they wanted Go to grow by having a Pokemon like Sobble, but I still can't agree with it. I have not given up hope though that Ash might get Sobble one day. Given that Go is so quick to give up, he might realize one day that Sobble is not for him, and he might give it to Ash, either by trading it or by releasing it so that Ash can catch it. I mean, Go was willing to release Reboot in episode 22, so it's not impossible to think that he might part ways with Sobble someday. But who knows? Since Sobble apparently took a liking to Go, this might never happen, but I will continue to hope that it does. But that's the video. As always, leave your own thoughts down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did and would like to see more like it, then please consider subscribing to my channel. I love Pokemon and I love making videos on both the anime and the games. Also, please consider clicking the links on screen so that you can check out more videos like this right away. Thank you very much for watching and let's meet again in the next video.